the Sports Desk with me, your host, RJ Nudds. Got some breaking news for you. Although the news broke a few days ago, it's still sending shockwaves around the league. The blockbuster trade of the off-season has occurred. Mike Shanahan's bold move to trade with the Rams for the second overall pick of the draft so he could select Baylor quarterback Robert Griffin III has been overshadowed by Peyton Manning, formerly of the Indianapolis Colts, deciding where he will be playing for the 2012 season. So amazingly, and I have to admit I got this one wrong, he's chosen the Denver Broncos. So, I was sure he would pick either Tennessee, a team that he knows very well. They're in the same division as the Indianapolis Colts, and he's played them twice a year for the duration of his career. A team that he has a lot of love for, a state that loves him very much, a coach he respects in Mike Munchak, and an owner in Bud Adams who has promised Manning, should I say, before he made his decision to play for the Broncos, a contract for life, including a post-career position in the front office, something that he's spoken very frequently about desiring. And the other possible landing spot for him, in my mind, was San Francisco. Had he not chosen the comfort of Tennessee, I imagined he would choose the competitiveness of the 49ers and head over to the Bay Area to hook up with Coach Jim Harbaugh, for whom he has stated he has a great deal of respect. But Manning went for the Broncos, so let's examine why he did that. Okay, although it seemed odd at first, several major factors contributed to Manning's decision. In terms of on-field talent, the Broncos of 2011 struggled somewhat to an unimpressive but division-topping 8-8 record. And they did this without a passing quarterback. As you'll remember, they had Tim Tebow, the Florida product, under centre, and Tebow once won a game for the Broncos, and we can talk about that in past tense now, by completing just 2 passes against the Kansas City Chiefs. But Tebow's legendary fourth quarter heroics will go down in history. It wasn't enough for the team to place the long-term faith in him. Unsurprisingly, he wasn't the answer at quarterback, and he's been moved on. Now, as good a football player as Tim Tebow is, the Broncos' offense actually has everything in place for Manning to make it work where Tebow couldn't. They have a strong running game, which can detract from a lot of the attention from the passer. They have a solid offensive line. They have competent receivers, one of which, Brandon Stokely, was a former teammate of Peyton Manning's, and it looks likely that he will drag Manning, that is, will drag with him a few more Colts. He's already had one tight end follow him to Colorado, although not his preferred target, unfortunately, but we'll get more news on that as the situation develops. And yeah, their defense is absolutely smothering. They're young, athletic, incredibly fit, and capable of staying on the field for a long period of time to give Manning the rest that he may well require after coming back from another neck surgery. I mean, if he stays healthy, the Broncos are actually Super Bowl contenders immediately, with Manning playing quarterback for them. In terms of the organisation, the Broncos actually played their hand perfectly, having Hall of Fame quarterback and 2-time Super Bowl champion John Elway as the face of the franchise obviously helped sway Manning's decision in their favour. Elway was an old man by the time he won his first of 2 Super Bowl championships, and he obviously understood exactly what Peyton was feeling like. He knew that this would likely be Peyton's last stop in his career, and he would want to make it count. Elway treated Peyton with the same level of respect that he would have expected himself during his playing days, basically laid his cards on the table and left the quarterback alone to decide. Something quite in contrast to the desperation move of Pete Carroll, the Seattle Seahawks coach, who flew out to Colorado while Peyton was in a scheduled meeting with Denver to pitch a stall in front of the future Hall of Fame quarterback. It didn't go down too well. That kind of pizzazz doesn't sit well with a humble man like Peyton Manning, and his tactics, that is Elway's tactics, proved absolutely perfect in the chase. By Manning's own admission, he did make 2 errors in the interview process, which he conducted rather laudably himself without the need for an agent. And he said personally he found himself getting too close to Titans coach Mike Munchak and San Francisco 49ers coach Jim Harbaugh. But even the great man can make mistakes. Let's hope he doesn't make many on field, or Denver might regret their signing and discarding of Tim Tebow. There was one stat that I particularly liked from the Broncos playbook, one move they pulled which impressed me and might well have impressed Manning. Former college scout John Fox, who is the team's head coach, a man with a great deal of experience in the NFL, dropped this tasty little number on Peyton Manning when he was visiting their facility. He mentioned that when the Broncos have scored 26 points or more, the team has a 39-3 win-loss record. Now, rather ironically or cutely, neatly shall we say, the average points scored by Peyton Manning during his tenure with the Colts was 26 points per game. So if that's not a stat which tickles your fancy, it seems to have tickled his, and he's gone that way with his future. So, startling news. Tim Tebow is a New York Jet. Who would have thought it? Broadway Timmy. Not sure that'll catch on, but yeah, he's landed in Manhattan, and he's been paraded in front of the media already, much to the chagrin of incumbent quarterback, well, how much longer we don't know, Mark Sanchez. It seemed bizarre at first, given the team's financial commitment to Sanchez, but they did get Tebow pretty cheap for a player of his quality. Notice how I say player. Tebow is incredibly talented. He's a physical athlete, and whether he lines up under centre, at tight end, fullback, halfback, receiver, or maybe even linebacker, knowing his talent set, is hard to say, but he will get snaps, that much is sure. Rex Ryan has defended this signing of Tebow by pointing to his character as perfectly suited to handling the blazing media spotlight which all New Yorkers must bear, and perhaps Tim Tebow being a possible salve to the open wounds in the locker room from last season. In addition to his belief that Tim Tebow will help his team on the field, Ryan has really been unable to mention anything more tangible than Tebow's obvious healing influence over his teammates and the people around him. At worst, his signing should either motivate or deflate Sanchez to the point of improvement or retirement. Either one is preferable than having him languishing in that middle level of quarterbacking, which really isn't good enough for a team with such ardent Super Bowl aspirations and a roster to boot. So, yeah, with Tebow around, Sanch knows that an errant pass might not just mean the end of a drive, but also the end of his career and the end of his days reclining in the centerfold of GQ. Sounds like a lovely life, doesn't it? Hopefully he'll want to cling on to it and he will up his level of play. I actually think there's another bonus to having Tebow on the roster in regards to the fractious locker room atmosphere. His presence could actually draw focus away from the Jets players, some of the less media-friendly personalities that Gang Green have knocking around that locker room. He's a great role model, of course, and a charming personality. No one can really dislike him for being who he is. And I think that the tough-talking Jets will defer to him in times of crisis and welcome perhaps the reduced level of scrutiny that should allow them to do what they do best. That is the players that will definitely be playing for the best part of 60 minutes any given Sunday. And let's face it, what the Jets do best is play hardball. And hopefully, with Tebow in the lineup, taking, as Ryan has mooted, possibly as many as 20 snaps a game, maybe out of the Wildcat formation, maybe in some other package we haven't yet seen, which may be named after this ever more intriguing quarterbacking prospect. The Jets have a real chance of bamboozling their opponents and marching on to the Super Bowl. And that's all for me and the latest quarterbacking moves, and I will be back with a world news update soon. Thank you very much.